Hello paint people and welcome back to Chaos Creation Miniatures, where today we're going to dive into the world of wacky and wonderful miniatures, but this time there's a bit of a twist. 3D printing has really allowed miniature painters to get their hands on some really unique models for their games, so today we've got the Ork Ninja Battle Van from Puppets War Miniatures, and we're turning these orcs into Teenage Mutant Ninja Orcs. So let's get green and mean. We're going to start off with the assembly of the model. Once it comes off the printer and cleaned up, a little bit of super glue to make sure all of the parts fit. We're even going to magnetize the roof of the van so that way you can take it off and see the great details that lie underneath. And remember guys, if you are enjoying the video and you want to see more, make sure to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, let people know about our channel. It really helps us. Then we're going to do a quick zenithal highlight over all of the pieces. This is going to give us a nice base point to really start seeing where the light is coming from and to bring out some of those details so when we start painting, we know that they're all going to have the same light source.
Teenage Ninja Turtles, Mutant Ninja Turtles. You learn from Splinter, life was your teacher, now it's sensei.
Now all of the orc flesh in this video is going to be done with the same recipe, so I'm going to go over it with you here. I think Michelangelo also gets it covered as well, and then after that it's just going to be all of the accents. So I start off with Calibite Green as a nice base coat to start with. It's a little bit of a bluish green, which is going to contrast well when we start having more of a yellow green as the final highlight. I base coat all of this and then move on to Commando Green to start those midtones in the orcs. I'm catching all of the highest points of the muscles, keeping in mind where that zenithal highlight really hit the model to bring out those details. I want it to really feel like the sun is what's hitting them and giving them that light. Building up those highlights from the Commando Green, I start mixing in more of that ice yellow that is going to be the brightest part of any of the orc flesh. This is going to be the same again throughout all of the models. Even when I do the van itself, that ice yellow is going to be an integral part to all of the highlighting that I do. Next, we're going to tackle that leather. Ninjas want to be light, they want to be silent. Leather works really well for this. We're going to go in with a nice saturated brown, cover all of the trim. Then we're going to take a quick pause because I wanted to make sure that I can apply a magnet into this roof so we can take it off. Again, I want to see those details. I want to show this off a little bit. I do like to showboat some of my miniatures sometimes. It might become a problem on the table when moving stuff around and magnet pieces start falling off. Then back to the leather. I mixed a little bit of orange into that brown along with a little bit of Wraithbone white to start building up the midtones for all of the leather straps. This is going to give a little bit of saturation and life into that leather work. Then, again, adding more and more ice yellow bit by bit to catch all of the edge highlights and to create a little bit of a sheen to the leather itself, as though it's been worn for a very long time. Then moving into all of the blue for Leonardo here, it's going to be starting with a royal blue. I'm going to layer all of the trim, his headbands, his armor panels, anything like that, and then start adding some sky blue to the mix. And we're going to bring that sky blue in gradually, about a 50-50 mix, until we're all the way at the edges of the highlights, the brightest points, and it's going to be just a pure sky blue. And this is going to give volume to these pieces. Now, once the roof is on, a lot of these details are going to be lost, but that's why we have that magnet so we can show off when we want to. Going for a nice near metallic metal for his weapon. I want it to feel battle damaged and like it's seen a lot of wartime and practice time. So I'm going to start off with that royal blue mixed with a little bit of black for the base color of the weapon, and then I start highlighting a little bit of a rust gray into that over and over again, doing little striations, making sure to catch the edges of all the battle damage, and working my way up all the way into a pure white for the shiniest, sharpest parts of the weapon. I'm going to follow the same process I went through with all of the leather straps to cover that comfortable front seat couch bench that this van has, making sure to do non-uniform striations amongst the leather to make it feel worn out, as though lots of green orc butts have sat on this chair throughout years of warfare. Moving on to the van itself, I mix a little bit of Xandri Dust with Wazdaka Yellow. This is going to give a nice desaturated look to those yellows as a base coat. This is going to really help accentuate the finalized details once we dry brush on some Flash Gits Yellow and then move on to the highlighting point. I applied 2 thin coats, and remember, most of this base coat is going to end up being covered up by the details in the dry brushing after, so it doesn't need to be the greatest layers you do, just make sure that it's nice and consistent. Using that small dry brush, I want to come in and make sure I'm catching all of the raised areas of the van. This is going to start to give the illusion of light hitting all of these panels on the Ork van. I try not to make a flat color. I always want to make sure there's some sort of gradient whenever I'm doing these details. And then I come in with that, again, that pure yellow of Flash Gits Yellow to catch the highlights. Then, like all of the other parts, that ice yellow is going to be the highest edges, the sharpest edges that you're going to see. And I felt like it wasn't even enough, so I started mixing more and more pure titanium white into that ice yellow until I got a finished look that I think really captures the details in this model. The sculptor of this model has done an amazing job capturing details and making sure that this doesn't look like a pristine van fresh off of the factory floor. It looks beaten and broken and built with all of the parts that they found amongst the battlefield to really give it that looted look. Then going into the green parts of the van, very similar to the Ork Flesh, I'm going to mix that Commando green into the Calibite green. This is going to give a sense of unity to that color of green, and I'm going to go in and capture all of those edges. And then I start to work up a bit of what I want to say is like a metallic sheen or a panel color by creating these striations that make it feel like light is passing over the top of this van. Now it's really important not to rush this part. You want to kind of layer upon layer these details, because if you try to go too thick, you're going to create flat details, and that's what I really want to avoid. I want everything to feel like it's got its own gradient. I really feel like that sun is shining directly on it. You want to make sure that Gork and Mork can see this van from the battlefield.
And my childhood, I remember you from TV. You gave me the best Saturdays. You forged my temperance with your weapons. You were teenagers like me. You taught me to be a hero. I learned to be better. Teenage Ninja Turtles, Mutant Ninja Turtles. You learned from Splinter, I was your teacher, now it's sensei. You grew up big sewers, I don't matter at all. You saved the world, and my childhood, I remember you from TV. You gave me the best Saturdays. You forged my temperance with your weapons. You were teenagers like me. You taught me to be a hero. I learned to be better. Teenage Ninja Turtles, Mutant Ninja Turtles. You learned from Splinter, I was your teacher, now it's sensei. Not the Krang, nor the Breaker.
Then doing a 50-50 mix of that flash gets yellow with the ice yellow for the thinnest points of the highlights. I find this really helps bring out details and separate panels from each other. This high contrast from that really dark, almost desaturated green that we started with really helps make those details pop. And again, it's going to create a sense where your eye wants to follow the detail. It wants to see exactly what it is. Separating shapes on a model is very important when you want clarity when you're looking at it from a distance.
Splinter, I was your teacher, now it's sensei. Fight great heroes for our future. You hide in sewers, it doesn't matter. I will hold you in high esteem. Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Ninja Turtles. You learned from Splinter, I was your teacher, now it's sensei.
Going over some of the smaller accents, so any of the tires or the lights or the wires, I'm doing all of those in the same kind of red. So it's a Wazdaka red mix for the base coat, a little bit desaturated, mixing in a little bit more of the scarlet red for higher and higher points of interest until we can highlight it with that scarlet red mixed with a little bit of that ice yellow for a final volumetric highlight. For the headlights on this model, so what I did was I took my airbrush, my trusty airbrush. I'm going to go ahead and create an almost glow effect by airbrushing white on the lights itself and any of the areas where the light might hit, so the side of the tire on the front. And then I go in with Magma Droth Flame Orange contrast paint. I put it directly into the airbrush. It flows really well. And I hit all the parts where I made sure the white was going to hit. So anything that's light is going to have an orange effect. I then go back in with the airbrush, I fill it with white again, and I'm going to start building up the volumes of these lights. This is done in a much more controlled burst method, very lightly applying it. And so that way the center is going to be pure white. I then, again, with my airbrush, take a little bit of that yellow from Flash Kit's yellow contrast paint, and I'm going to go over all of this secondary white points. The yellow is really what the light is, and the orange gives it more of a glow effect. And then for the final specular highlight, I go back in with that ice yellow and just dot right on the top where I think the highest point of brightness is going to be coming from, and that's what's going to give an almost convincing glow to it, like a classical car from the old days. They don't have any of those white neon lights we have nowadays. It's really those warm yellow headlights. Then just a simple dot of pure titanium white right in the center of each of those highlights. Then we're going to move on to Michelangelo. He's a party dude, he's fun, he's radical, so I want the colors on this model to really feel the same way. Again, I'm going to start off with that Calipite green for the base skin, and then this is going to be a great jump off point to start adding that commando green again. For the leather, the same process as with Leonardo. I go in with a saturated brown, cover all of the leather bits, start building it up by adding orange and Wraithbone white to get the midtones. And again, the commando green for the midtones for the skin. Build that up. I felt like I was creating too much of a low contrast point, so I bring in a little bit of green shade and I just kind of panel line in between each of the muscles. This is going to help blend some of the two layers together, but also make sure that there is detail for these muscles to look like they're rippling muscles and not just kind of flat. Mixing in that ice yellow once again for the highest high points in all of the muscles, keeping in mind where that zenithal highlight was originally, and then I'm going to layer it on little bit by little bit, blending it in with the other layers. Sometimes I'll come back with the old commando green and wear the ice yellow layer and the commando green mix and just do a very small glaze, and this is going to help blend those colors really well together. Now for the bright orange, and it's not just any orange, we want it to be vibrant like his personality, so we're going to mix a little bit of the Magmadroth Flame Orange as the base coat for all of the oranges on all of the panels, the armor, his gauntlet gloves, then adding again that ice yellow into the highest points of highlights, building up and maintaining the same colors that we've kind of been going throughout this whole process. Maintaining the same highlight colors is going to give a feeling of unity for all the models in this army. Next up we have Raphael. He's the hothead, so we're going to be going in with the red like his classic design with a little bit of an orcish twist. The skin and all the leather bits have been done the same way as my other models, so you can go check out how those are done. I was really happy with how this one turned out. We're going to be using a redder than red, so we really want to make sure it pops out. We're going to start with Wazdaka red as a base. From there, we're going to move on to a scarlet red. This is going to build up layer by layer, and then we're going to add that ice yellow into that scarlet red. So that way this orc doesn't just look angry, he's orc angry. You want to be careful here to make sure that your armor doesn't look too orange in similarity to Michelangelo's armor. So you want to make sure that more of that scarlet red underneath is showing through. So when you're doing your edge highlighting, you want to make sure that you're only covering the highest points of highlights and the furthest of the edges. Very small, and remember, in this case, less detail is more. For its weapons, we're going to go with a little bit of a cheat here. It's like a cheap way of doing a near metallic metal. So I'm going to start off with like a dark, rich blue, and I'm going to slowly add a little bit of gray into that blue, along with the sky blue. And we're going to come in and we're going to create kind of like light striations across it, hitting all of the edges. Last but not least, we're going to move on to Donatello, or Donnie Dark Orc. He's the brains of the operation, so we're going to give him that purple intelligence color. I come in with a contrast purple from Citadel. We're going to mix it with a little bit of black just to give it a little bit more deep, thoughtful look. And then adding highlights of Gene Stealer purple, be a nice mid-tone for that purple. It highlights really well with it. And what's really nice about purple is it has a really cool eye-catching effect once you start mixing in that icy yellow with it. Again, we want to make sure that the details are not going to be lost and they're going to catch the attention of the viewer, whether you're looking at it close up or whether you're looking at it on the tabletop. Then do a quick shoot of the painting for Great Master Splinter, or I'm going to call him Master Splinter Guts. We're using a plum color for the base coat of his robes, and then we're going to use the same brown on the furs that we did with the leather. However, this time we're going to mix a touch of orange and ice yellow for the highlights of the fur. Then we're going to add a touch of gray into those highlight colors to really get the highest points and to make him kind of look older and more disheveled. Then we're going to move back into the robes. We're going to mix a little bit of white into that same plum. It's going to desaturate those original colors to give it a little bit more of a naturalized feel and a worn down cloak look. And catch all of the robes, all of the edges, and then finalize that again with a higher and higher white point. Then we're going to just do a quick near metallic metal gold for all of the edges of the robes, for where his sash is, and this is going to give a sense of flair to this model. And there you have it, folks. That's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Orks, or the Ninja Battle Van from Puppets War Miniatures, ready to take on the next tabletop challenge, or just to throw a pizza party. From Leonardo to Donnie Dark Ork to Master Splinter Guts, they've got the style and color and attitude for the next WOG. Remember, in the world of miniatures, if you can dream it, you can paint it. Thanks for joining us at Chaos Creation Miniatures. If you've enjoyed this orc word transformation, give us a like, give us a subscribe for more painting adventures. Let us know in the comments which mini you'd like to see in your next mutant mashup series that we're going to do. There are so many from Puppets War Miniatures. I'm going to do another one just because I love them so much. Until next time, keep your paints wet and make your orcs orkier.